Machining is sort of a quiet trade. Nobody really hears about it. Everybody knows what carpenters and plumbers, electricians are, but when you say, oh, I'm a machinist, well, what do you do? My name is Ed Drachenberg, and I live in Humboldt right now. I've lived in quite a few different places in Canada, but Humboldt is my home, and it's the best place in Saskatchewan. I get up in the morning and make my cup of coffee, and I come down the basement and turn the lights on, and I say, "Good morning, machine shop," because I know I'm going to have fun for the rest of the day. I was always, as a kid, a builder. I had no tools, but I built all kinds of things. Like my classmates in school said, I made the best bow and arrows and slingshots and stuff like that. I was lucky enough, my parents came to Canada, and we moved to Regina, and so we searched for a high school, and it happened to be Belfort Tech. And Belfort Tech was supposed to be the best technical high school, and the teacher took us, my mother and I, for a tour, and I walked into a machine shop, and I knew right away that's exactly what I wanted to do. Well, I was a machinist, and then I branched out into tool and die making, and in heavy industry at IPSCO. And I actually started out for a company that manufactured farm machinery. It was called Brandt Electric, and since then it's grown into a large corporation. In the latter years that I worked for a research company, and we developed a lot of the technology that we use today, like fiber optic communications, satellite communications, cell phones. I worked on one of the first digital cell phones in the early 90s. And so that, I think, was some of the highlights of my career. Well, retirement is fun. Like, I've been retired, for 22 years now. I retired early. And what my life's work is also my hobby. The machining trade is probably one of the most important trades in our history, because anything you can touch was probably built, the first one was probably built in a machine shop. And machine shops support industry, they support development, research, you name it. Everybody thinks that the machining trade is something relatively new, but through history they've had lathes and milling machines of some sort probably for the last 600 years. They probably started out as partly wood and then some metal on it, and they were controlled by foot pedals, like sort of like a sewing machine, and then eventually they were probably run maybe with a water wheel, and then eventually with steam, and then with electricity, and today it's just a common thing. I did a seminar for summer school in Munster, kids that were from 5 years old up to 14 years old, and I did it on the Industrial Revolution. And for most kids, that's boring. But I brought a few toys along, and I showed them how the Industrial Revolution started everything that we have today. And the kids were so interested, they didn't want to go home. But the way things are done is going to change. Like when I started my apprenticeship program, everything was done by hand. You had to learn how to use hand tools, and you also used machine tools, but we were still able to do things by hand that now the new generation of kids don't know how to do, because computers are taking over. Well, I've always tried to promote the trade. My neighbors would come over with their young kids, the boys 10 years old or so, and they would watch me fix their dad's parts, And so I noticed there was, one kid, he was really interested. So I told him to come over and spend some time with me. So we made a little cup out of brass, and he watched and stuff. And I gave it to him to take home, and he carried it in his little hands. And I met him here a couple of years ago, and he says, I still have that little cup. And he's a fully trained machinist now. He works at Bergot Industries. I trained with he was a German trained machinist. He worked during the war maintaining U-boats, so he was really a specialist in high pressure, valves and so on. And I learned a lot from him, and that's where I learned how to do things accurate. Because in a U-boat you had to, or the crew member would die. So he was probably, I think of him all the time, because every time I do a job that's difficult, I think of what he used to say.